Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da. Domo arigato, geek to me radio, da 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 da.
Welcome, geeks and nerds, girls and boys, to another brand new edition of Geek to Me Radio. Tonight, we have actor Maria Canals-Barrera, an interview with her talking about her brand new movie with Danny Trejo, Se7en Cemeteries. After that, Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary are in studio with us to talk about their new Kickstarter, Hamletmania. All that and more, stand by.
We're talking TV, comics and movies, and video games. And if you don't know Star Trek from Star Wars, we'll try to explain. There are 12 doctors for Hogwarts houses, one ring rules them all. To be the greatest Pokemon master, you must catch them all. You must catch them all. Try to catch them all. Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
And if you're driving around tonight listening to us on the Big 550 KTRS, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you're streaming us out there in the world on the KTRS app or on the website, hello to all of you as well. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, hello. Thank you very much for watching. I will try not to neglect the chat tonight. I see that our friend My Flock is tuning in from the West Coast. We've got BK on the air from Cartersville, Georgia, right there. Shannon from right here in St. Louis is in the chats as well. So I'm getting those out of the way early so I don't forget anybody. So thank you all for tuning in. And of course, if you're hearing us after the fact in the podcast form on whatever platform it is you do get your podcast from, we appreciate you finding us there and listening. Even though it's after the fact, it's always more fun to join us live. So go to youtube.com, click the subscribe button, and then hit the bell notification. That way, you always get a little notification every time we do go live with a brand new show, like we are tonight with a lot going on. We have our installment of Comic Book Nostalgia's Geek News of the Week, so we are going to roll right into that.
In superhero news, a little bit of confirmation for Superman, lots of Spider-Man news, and a Blade update that left fans pretty frustrated, so let's kick off with that. Earlier this week, we found out that Blade had been removed from the release calendar for 2025. This project has been one drama after another, and many people feel like it's actually circling the drain. This was complicated by the well-received appearance of Wesley Snipes in the recent Deadpool and Wolverine, and since the film was not assigned a new date, it appears like it might be cancelled, which would be an utter shame. Now, on the positive side, a ton of Spider-Man news. First and foremost, we got an official announcement for Spider-Man 4, along with confirmation of the release date in July of 2026. This came initially from Tom Holland on Jimmy Fallon's show, but then was followed up just a day later on Good Morning America, along with an official announcement from Sony and Marvel. So the web slinger is coming back, Tom Holland is lined up to wear the tights, and fans are pretty excited. Now, Tom Holland's not the only Spider-Man, though, that got some good news. Earlier this week, we also got our first look at Nicolas Cage in costume for Spider-Man Noir. Now, many people are familiar with Spider-Man Noir from Into the Spider-Verse, and this series looks to capitalize on the popularity of the animated franchise, but they are bringing it to life in live action, and honestly, this first look at the costume looks to be ripped right from the comics. Now, on the downside, we did find out that the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon will not be headed our way this year, but is still queued up and could come our way in early 2025. Marvel and Disney Plus have yet to give a release date for the project, and we haven't even seen a trailer. And that honestly will be the big nod when we find out the show is going to release, so I think we're going to have to sit tight, hope for the best, and once Marvel drops the trailer, the murkiness to this issue will be resolved. Now, on the DC side of the fence, we really didn't have a lot of news this week, but we closed it out with a bang. We actually got some very, very interesting announcements from the DC Universe toy line that seem to indicate what's going on with Superman and some of the baddies. Now, obviously that toy line is going to have lots of Superman figures, but it also finally revealed who the character was with the big U on his chest, and he is indeed Ultraman. Ultraman is an interesting choice, and I really am curious on what James Gunn is going to do with this. I actually think he's going to devolve into Bizarro and be a clone of Superman developed by Lex Luthor, but that's all still up in the air. more. Now, the other toys on that list included Guy Gardner, Metamorpho, Hot Girl, but then two others that were a baby kaiju and a kaiju super figure, suggesting the monsters aspect of Gods and Monsters is going to show up from day one, and Superman, at some point in this film, is going to face off with some kind of giant monster, whether this is the classic Titano, who's been part of Superman comics for forever, or even a Kryptonian dragon. Well, these are all the questions that are yet to be answered. Make sure you check out our channel over on YouTube. Comic Book Nostalgia is your place for all the superhero news, but we go out of our way to bring it to you truthfully and transparently, so you are actually in the know. Back to you, James.
Thank you very much. And if you're listening right now, that was Lewis at CB Nostalgia, Comic Book Nostalgia. You can follow him on YouTube as well. If you liked all the stuff you heard, all that news you got, he does that, I don't know, hourly. He seems to be putting out videos all the time about anything DC Comics related, Marvel Comics related, movie stuff. So if you get a chance, if you're on YouTube, look up CB Nostalgia, Comic Book Nostalgia, and he is at CB Nostalgia on Twitter as well. Thanks for that news segment. We'll make sure we had BK in the air. BK, if our friends down in Cartersville, Georgia on WBHF are doing a live show on Halloween. So if you're looking for something to do, if you're just hanging out, giving out trick-or-treat candy, you can use one of the apps, the TuneIn app or something like that, to get BK on the air. Halloween night, he'll be doing a live stream from his studio down there in Cartersville, Georgia. So wherever you are in the country or in the world, you can listen to that as well. We are going to take a very quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have our interview with Maria Canals-Barrera talking about her new movie, 7 Cemeteries, which is a lot of fun. We'll get into all that and a few other things that Maria has going on. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Ramp and weight box. Hitch up the truck and turn its motor on. You can put that four-wheel drive to the test and discover just how much power you're playing with. The Stomper official competition pull set comes with everything you see here.
Strawberry shortcake and it's too sweet. Their pretend kisses make kissing a treat. Each sold separately.
Baby strawberry shortcake, give your mommy a kiss. I love you, baby orange blossom.
When you squeeze their tummies, they blow sweet-scented make-believe kisses.
Delicious, baby angel cake. Time to get ready for your nap. Don't you just love them to pieces?
Baby strawberry shortcake and baby orange blossom and baby angel cake, each sold separately.
GoBots, and you control their every move. Behold, Thor, Copter, Turbo, and Sidekill. The GoBot invasion has begun.
Financial advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
Welcome back to the show. Geek to Me Radio, heard here every Sunday night on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm your host, James Enstall. We want to make sure we tell you about our premier sponsor, the people without whom we would not still be doing a show here, going on 8 years now, which is, of course, the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau. You know them by the website discoverstcharles.com. They just wrapped up their big Halloween festival. A lot of people came out and enjoyed it. It was perfect weather this entire last 3 weekends here of October. We didn't have any rain. It wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold. And the crowds demonstrated that. There were plenty of people out there enjoying Pumpkin Glow this weekend on Friday and Saturday. They actually shut Main Street down so people could walk in the middle of the street. And it was great. I almost stepped in dog poop twice, but I narrowly avoided it. But it was a good time, was had by all. There was the new characters they've added, like the Wicked Witch and the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Lizzie Borden was out there. We had the Brothers Grimm, Mary Shelley, Dorian Gray, all these people you can interact with, and fantastical characters, too, like the Weird Sisters from Macbeth. Sweeney Todd and Mrs. Lovett were out there, and it was a good time to be had at all. And just so you know, it's not just these festivals. There's always something going on in St. Charles. They've got ice sculpting events. They've got food truck days. You can just go down to Frontier Park and hang out while the weather is nice. Enjoy this last little bit of sunshine before it all turns wintry. But With winter comes Christmas traditions. This is the 50th anniversary of the largest and longest running Christmas festival in the entire country. Christmas traditions in St. Charles. You can go to the website again, discoverstcharles.com. Click the events tab and you'll see it there where you can look at all these things there are to see and do. They've got special events outside of the festival and things you can do on Friday nights. You can go down and get your picture taken with Krampus, visit with Grilla and the Mary Lloyd and the kind of the Krampus carnival people. And they have their Wednesday night, they have their Dickensian stroll, so you can walk along and actually stroll through A Christmas Carol in these gorgeous cobblestone streets with these old buildings. It's the perfect setting to experience the holidays in. So if you're outside the greater St. Louis, St. Charles listening area and you are hearing this for the first time, make a plan. If you haven't got Christmas plans already, come visit us in St. Charles, Missouri. Start at the website, discoverstcharles.com. discoverstcharles.com. As we always say, it's an historically good time. So proud to have them as our premier sponsor now for a little over 8 years that they've been with us. So go check them out. A lot of cool things to see and do. Before we get going here, we've got this great person, Maria Canals-Barrera. She's a fantastic actress. She's done a ton of stuff. She is coming to town for our Two Rivers Comic Con event in May. She is officially signed on. We're so pleased to have her along with Phil Lamar and Susan Eisenberg coming here to town. It'll be in historic Main Street in St. Charles at the Foundry and the Steel Shop. So make sure you check that out. I want to make sure we get that in now as we go to our interview with the dynamic Maria Canals-Barrera. We're joined once again by the dynamic and versatile Maria Canals-Barrera talking about a brand new movie, which I just watched and absolutely loved, 7 Cemeteries, starring Danny Trejo. Maria, thanks for your time.
Thank you, James. Hi, everyone.
It's so good to talk to you. This movie was the perfect release, I think, for this spooky season because it's got a little horror, a little comedy, a lot of action. This seems like, in the scenes I saw you in, you look like you must have had so much fun filming this.
Oh, my gosh. It was an absolute blast. And I'm in complete agreement with you about the timing. It's such a great movie to go to on like Halloween time and even Halloween day before you go out trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
So like it's like so fun to get you in the mood. And I've been telling people, go in costume, go to the movies, have dinner at the movies and go trick-or-treating. You'll be in such a good mood after watching 7 Cemeteries.
I know they've got all the dine-in cinemas now, so you can literally just go and order some food. Like if you go to the Alamo Draft House here in St. Louis, you just go order some food, some cocktails, and have them brought to you while you're watching the movie.
Nice.
With this one, I was trying to look through and I couldn't quite find, is this the first time you've gotten to work with Danny?
Yeah. I mean, I've met him before at a few like industry events, but I've never had a chance to work with him until 7 Cemeteries. And he was terrific.
He always plays the heavy, like this really mean character. I've had the opportunity to meet him once. He was at Planet Comic-Con, and he's just the nicest, most humble guy. It's quite a contrast from the characters he usually plays.
Exactly. And he's genuinely like that. It's not like something he's putting on because he's in Hollywood and has to play some kind of game like a lot of people do. They're not authentic. He's authentic. And it is such a juxtaposition from what he looks like with all those muscles and tattoos. He's a sweetheart, down to earth, kind, very boyish in many ways. He was so sweet the way he kept talking about his son and so proud of his son, who's in the movie, who plays a younger version of him.
Yeah, Gilbert Trejo. That was, I think I'm like, man, they found somebody who really looked like Danny. And then I saw the credits roll. I'm like, well, that explains it.
Yeah, my older daughter pointed out at one of the screenings, she said, he's so sweet. He's so proud of his son, the way he kept saying, pointing to his son and talking about his son. Like, as a daughter, she notices loving parents like that. And that was really touching. He's just a great guy, authentic and talented. And I understand why he's such an icon. He's special.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up. I'm a huge fan of 80s and 90s cinema, and just watching him in one of my very favorite guilty pleasure movies is From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino, and it's such a fun movie. And he again plays one of those very scary, in that particular movie, a vampire character. But it's so cool to see how he's just kept going. He's almost like just nonstop movie after movie after movie. It's insane.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. And I mean, you've been very busy as well. I just saw that you were in Ireland at a Comic-Con with George and Susan and Andrea. How fun was that?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was my first time in Ireland, and my husband and I stayed an extra week to celebrate our anniversary before the Comic-Con. 25 years anniversary.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. It was really wonderful. And the con was great. The Irish people are so kind and, again, friendly. And my husband and I were like, gosh, it's such an interesting thing, because you would think because of that chilly weather they would be like irritable, but they're not. They're so warm and friendly, and it was just beautiful. Dublin, and we visited Glendalough and Kilkenny, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, I saw all your pictures that you posted because you're so good on social media. You're constantly doing videos and posting. So if you're listening right now and you're not following Maria on Instagram, make sure you do that, because you'll get a lot out of it. But the pictures you posted, and you got to do TV interviews when you were over there. It was like you were royalty almost.
Yeah, it was really nice. Yes, I got to do an interview, and I got to talk about everything going on, and I was part of a cooking segment. It was so fun.
And I got to say, going back to your anniversary, 25 years, both you and your husband in Hollywood as working actors. That's an accomplishment for two people in Hollywood as actors to be together for 25 years. So that's even more impressive.
Yeah, it's challenging in general, marriage, with just beliefs in general becoming more about short-term thinking, just in culture in general in this day and age. It's not like the way our great-grandparents grew up, where everything was taken very seriously, commitments were taken seriously. The divorce rate is so high,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so much out there, especially like you said, as actors, when you don't have job security, and I guess, also being on set with other people and doing romantic things in character, you have to not let it get to anything besides professional stuff. I mean, I understand why it's challenging. So I get it. But for us, I think we were really prepared about what we were getting into. And we agree that now that, ever since we got married, we are one. We are no longer two. We are one. And what's good for him is good for me. And what's good for me is good for him. So we never feel that competition that people can sadly feel in marriage, of all places, where it shouldn't be. So I think we've been very blessed to be very aware of that we are one. So yeah, we've made it 25 years, and I hope for many, many, many more.
I have no doubt, knowing you as I do, I have no doubt that there'll be another 25 years at least in the future. I want to kind of circle back to 7 Cemeteries. I was looking, the director, not the director of the film, but the writer, screenplay was Joel Soisson. I looked, I'm like, that name is so familiar. I had him on the radio show because I'm a huge horror fan, and he's been attached as a director or producer or writer for some of my favorite horror movies like Dracula 2000, the Prophecy series with Christopher Walken. Are you a fan of the horror genre? If you're going to go watch a movie, not necessarily act, but if you're going to turn on a movie, are you a fan of the genre?
I like some of it. I don't like it too much because there's enough horror in real life. But I do appreciate a well-written horror story where evil is clearly defined, and the good guys are clearly defined. Not that they don't have, other qualities, but there aren't too many excuses for the bad guy. So there are some, ones that really messed with me when I was a kid. There was one called Revenge of the Mummy or something like that. When I was a kid, there was a show called Creature Feature. It was on late at night on Saturday night, I think. And my mom let us stay up, and I watched, I think it was called Revenge of the Mummy. And oh my gosh, I just couldn't watch another scary movie for years after that.
Wow. Yeah, there's those movies as we see them as little kids. For me, it was The Changeling with George C. Scott, 1980. But that was terrifying. And then there were other movies. Roddy McDowall played in a movie called It, nothing to do with the Stephen King adaptation. But it's amazing how, especially as younger children, they're more almost susceptible, and then they kind of run with it and start thinking about it. Whereas adults, we have faculties, hopefully, to dismiss some of those things. So it's interesting what we latch onto as children.
Yeah, that's why it's good for kids to stay away from it. But for about 7 Cemeteries, what I like is an adult who doesn't necessarily love to be terrorized. There was everything in our movie. There was genuine terror.
Mm-hmm.
genuine hilarity, ridiculous absurdity, but you believe it.
Yeah.
You believe it could happen because it was so well done. There's even a love story in there.
Yeah.
I love playing the witch doctor, the Bruja. She's so funny and she's so ugly. Oh my gosh. I'm a very glamorous person. So when they had to put all those terrible makeup on me and make me look 100 years old and emphasize all my flaws, it was like, oh gosh. But you know what? I'm glad I went with it full on because that's what made it so great. I mean, our director, John, was like, can we give him more liver spots? And I was like, oh, okay, do it. So I loved my character.
Yeah.
I loved working with Efren Ramirez, who played my half-dead husband. He was great.
He's such the straight man. I remember him so good from Napoleon Dynamite because that was just one of those breakout movies. And he was, again, very just kind of the straight man in this, straight zombie, if you want to call him that. But he did so good.
He was great. And he has this special gift of playing a hilarious straight man.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Right.
Because he's so funny with that stoic look on his face. Just brilliant. I was very excited to work with him. I thought he was just golden on Napoleon Dynamite. And he was terrific in our movie.
Yeah, there's certain people you think of as the straight man. You think of Bud Abbott, but they're always paired with somebody who's not. But I think of what Ephraim was doing, and it almost reminds me, and this is a deep cut for any of you who are listening. I apologize for my fondness of old black and white movies, but Edward Everett Horton was a fantastic straight man, but he'd do that kind of double take in the Fred Astaire movie and Ginger Rogers movies. He was always the straight man in those, but he had such great physical comedy and timing. And it almost, what Ephraim's doing kind of reminds me a little bit of that. So if Ephraim's listening, huge compliment, trust me.
I got to check that out. You know what I want from you, James? I want you to give me a list of top 20 movies I must see because you're a real cinephile.
Well, tell me, narrow the genre down because I don't want to spin you into a direction you're like, oh, no, that was awful.
Well, I love cinema noir, those, like you said, the old black and white ones that are full of mystery. Like I remember Dark Victory was a movie I liked and old Betty Davis movies. Like there's one I haven't seen that I heard is like the iconic film noir movie to see, Double Indemnity.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is a classic.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Can you believe it? I don't think so.
You know what? Everyone's got their little movie blind spots. I always take grief from my friends because I have not seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And they're like, how can you call yourself a geek and a nerd? But those movies, I appreciate the fantasy genre, the sword and sorcery, but it's exhausting, especially now that there's 6 movies, each one weighing in around 3 hours. That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is a lot.
But yeah, there's one movie I can recommend right off the top of my head, especially if you have time to watch it in the next week or two for the Halloween season. We mentioned Abbott and Costello, Hold That Ghost.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, it's a lot of fun. It's one of their spookier movies, but it's 1940s spooky, so it's never terrifying or off kilter, but it's a lot of fun. It's a good ghost story movie. And Abbott and Costello are pros. They're hilarious.
Oh, perfect. Hold That Ghost. I want to do it. I'll watch it with my family.
Would you guys have Halloween traditions? Do you as a family, do you carve pumpkins? Do you do something special this time of year?
We're not like insane about Halloween. Like some people can be crazy about it. We enjoy it. I like to make chili. I learned that from a friend of mine. A big pot of chili and invite, friends over that are on their way trick-or-treating to stop and have a bowl of chili with Fritos crackled on top. Ooh. And I make it nice and spicy in the crock pot with lots of cheddar cheese. That's a Halloween tradition, the chili, and we dress up most of the time. We did when they were little, it was all about the kids. We weren't focused on our own costumes that much, but now we're more and more into it. We like to, when they're little, they like to give out candy. At least my kids did, as much as they like trick-or-treating. And that's so sweet to see. And it's funny because I have one daughter that couldn't wait to get all that candy and eat it. And my other daughter couldn't care less. She she would just love just getting dressed up and trick-or-treating or handing it out. And she didn't care about eating it. It would just sit there and rot. And my other daughter would say, is she going to eat it or what? It's torturing me.
I got to ask, was in birth order, was that the first daughter who wanted the candy and couldn't wait to eat it, or was that the second daughter?
The second.
Okay. I was kind of wondering because there's that first child and, second child syndrome, how they kind of had different personalities. So that makes sense. I just was curious.
Yeah, they're so different. So different. But they have the most important things in common, which is good.
Good. That's and a good family. It sounds like you, I love seeing how close you are because you post pictures of your daughter's accomplishments and the things they do and what they're doing. And you're always so supportive of your husband and the stuff he does. And it's heartwarming to watch your Instagram feed because it's as much entertaining as it is kind of just family centric and heartwarming. I love it.
Thank you, James. I post when they let me. Okay. They're very, now that they're adults, they're like, not into me posting. They never loved me posting too much, but it's hard as a mom. But I have to respect their wishes now, Yeah. Adulthood and all that.
I know. It has its downsides. Trust me, if I could stay as a kid, I would have. Believe me. This growing up's not for everyone. We've just got a little bit of time with you left. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're doing this just as a favor, but again, let me try that again. 7 Cemeteries. It's available on Amazon and Apple TV. Is this, there's going to be a theatrical release as well, or is it just streaming?
Yes. It's in the movies right now.
Fantastic. Okay. I thought so, but I was going to try to go see it, but I'm like, I want to see it before I talk to you. So I went ahead and rented it on Amazon. But yeah, this is one, I would say if you're listening right now and you're looking for a movie to see in the cinema, because it's not a lot of stuff out there right now, this is one you should put on your radar for sure, because it is a lot of fun. I think somewhere I read it's almost like a homage to Magnificent Seven with a dark comedy bent.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And the cast, again, Danny Trejo, Efren Ramirez, Samantha Ashley, who I hadn't seen before, but she was brilliant in this. She did such a good job.
Yeah, she was great.
And Vincent M. Ward, who I remember from season 3 of The Walking Dead. But it's just such a great cast. Was there anyone in the cast you had worked with previously?
Actually, no. No. But I knew who they were, and I was fans of them. And I thought Vincent was, oh my gosh, so good, so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to say, for the villain, Saul Lopez, I hated him. So he did good acting as the villain because you just hated him so much. It was so good.
Yeah, I think I worked with Sal on something. I can't remember what. Maybe he was in Mi Familia years ago that I did. My Family, Mi Familia was a movie I did with Francis Ford Coppola produced it. It was like a 3-generational story about Mexican family. I don't know if he was in it with me because at that time I was doing a lot of theater. Mm-hmm. With East LA Classic Theater, and we were doing the classics, but with Latino actors, Latino American actors.
Oh, nice.
Because they don't give us those opportunities traditionally, which is terrible.
Yeah.
So we did our own thing, and we did all kinds of plays, Ibsen, and it was wonderful. Commedia dell'arte. Shakespeare we got to do, which was great. But anyway, I think I worked with Sal, I'm not sure.
And I believe we can see you coming up on the newest season of The Morning Show as well, yes?
That's right. I'll be continuing my part as Mercedes. She's a new board member.
Watching that show is very tense. Like after the show ends, I can kind of feel my body just kind of relax. I assume working on it is a much different experience from watching it.
No, I mean, it's definitely fun, but there's still that high stakes feel, even when we're shooting. It's exciting. It's serious. It's like really, really well done.
My gosh, I can't imagine it. And the cast is incredible. The multiple awards and nominations for that. That's got to be very a good feeling to be attached to something that's such a well-received show.
Definitely. I mean, watching and working with Billy Crudup, the guy is really, really solid. He knows his lines so well, and he just won the Emmy again, right?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well deserved. He's pretty amazing. But yeah. Also, James, I want to tell you, you may or may not see me. I can't tell you in the new Wizard sequel.
Oh, really?
Yes. So you may or may not. We'll see. We'll see. But that's going to premiere very soon, and I'm so proud of David Henry, who is the star of the new show. It's really good. I got to see a producer's run through of the pilot, and it's terrific. So I'm excited for the fans to support The New Wizards.
And
I'm very proud of them.
Coming out very soon, right?
It's either the 29th or the 30th. It's just like tomorrow or the day after is the premiere.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it's the 29th or the 30th, but it's definitely one of those days.
Yes, that's really coming up around the corner. Anything else that you've been working on that you can talk about? Because I know a lot of times the NDAs kind of ruin being able to talk about stuff, but is there anything you've got in the works?
Yes. I have a movie to change gears radically. I have a Christmas movie coming out on Netflix, and it's called The Merry Gentleman, and it's starring Britt Robertson and Chad Michael Murray, and I have a great part in it, and it's very good. And that's going to be out Christmas time, maybe earlier than that, but it's a Christmas movie. And then I'm also, recurring as Dora the Explorer's the new animated show. I'm her abuela, I'm her grandma, and I really love doing that because it's first of all well written for preschool, really, really sweet. The music is sensational. The music is composed by George Noriega and Joel Somelian, who they wrote and composed for Shakira. So there's a lot of incredible Latin music, beautifully done. And it's just a very wholesome show. And I'm very proud to be part of something that little kids can watch and parents can relax and enjoy and not have to worry about what their kid's going to see or hear.
Well, I did introduce you as versatile. So you go from a Christmas movie to voicing a character in Dora to 7 Cemeteries out now. So I don't think it gets much more versatile than that, Maria.
That's right. You nailed it once again, James.
This is always such a pleasure to talk to you, and I want to go ahead and let the listeners know, because I don't think we've officially announced you yet, but Maria will be one of the Justice Leaguers joining us at Two Rivers Comic Con in May of 2025 in historic St. Charles. So if you're in the greater St. Louis, St. Charles listening area, those tickets are on sale at the number 2 riverscomiccon.com, so you can come out and meet Maria. Will you be adding some 7 Cemeteries pictures of you as the Bruja to your thing where people can have sign?
You know it.
That's outstanding. They really did a great job, because I know your voice, but I was like, I had to look to see that was really you. So the makeup, the hair, they did a great job.
Oh my gosh, that dreadlock wig with all the nasty stuff caught in it for God knows how long. That was sensational.
And that was quite a look. So people will be cosplaying as you going forward, I think, for Halloween. Maria, it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. We will have to do it again very soon. Let people know if they want to keep up with you. I know we mentioned Instagram. Where else are you active? Websites and things like that where people can find you?
Well, everywhere except TikTok, it's @Maria_CB. And TikTok, I believe it's like my entire name, @Maria Canals_Barrera.
Perfect. And everywhere else is just Maria_CB.
Right.
Perfect. It's always fun to talk to you. Great to see you. We're excited to bring you to town in May. And if you're listening right now, go see 7 Cemeteries. It's the perfect time to go see it. Bring some friends, or if you don't want to go out of the house, you can always download it. It's available on Amazon and Apple TV. Maria Canals-Barrera, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, James. Thanks, everyone.
There she goes, and she couldn't be more delightful. Again, we're very excited to be bringing her in for Two Rivers Comic Con. That was a pre-recorded interview, so if you thought I was ignoring you, I was not. Dan Reba, hello. Shannon says hi to Dan Reba. So you just talk amongst yourselves in the chats. That's fine. You don't even need me. Roxy Riptide, I agree. The Changeling is one of my all-time top 5 favorite and most frightening horror films ever made. 1980 with George C. Scott. If any of you are listening and you haven't seen that, you might want to put that on your Halloween watch list. Hello to our friend Chance Bartels from Atlanta, Georgia. Nice to see you there in the chat as well. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I think I got everyone. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come right back. We will be talking with our friends about their Kickstarter. We have Aaron Walther and Greg McCrary in studio. We'll be talking to them, so stand by. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio. We'll be right back on the Big 550.
Supercycles are cycles with speed. Stomper SSC Supercycles, available in 6 models, each sold separately from Shopper.
Daddy, look who's dressed for a party.
A strawberry shortcake party is quite grand. All her new friends dress their best are on hand.
Plum pudding, how pretty. Thank you. Meet my friend Peach Blush. Welcome. Cherry color, you're all dressed up. So's my friend Gooseberry.
Strawberry shortcake, you're a real party pleaser.
Thank you, Katie. It's because my party guests are easy to please.
New party pleaser strawberry shortcake and all her party pleaser friends are more fun than a party, each sold separately.
Of course, the world's fastest train is taking off. Super Turbo Train with Daredevil Jump travels in scale beyond the speed of sound. So fast, it races up a wall. And even upside down. So fast, it makes the incredible Daredevil Jump and keeps on going. There's nothing else like it. Take control of the fastest and only airborne train. The new Super Turbo Train with Daredevil Jump from Tyco.
Strawberry short.
Hi, I'm John Wesley Shipp, and you're listening to Geek to Me Radio.
We are back on the Big 550 KTRS. Hello to all of you out there streaming. Paul Cruda is out there in the chats. Jessica Siddow, hello to you. Making sure. And you're just all there to talk to Dan Reba. Let's be honest. That's what you're all there for. You're all saying hi to Dan. I know, it's fine. Riptide Roxy says she knows Aaron. So there you go. And we discussed that before you even said anything about Roxy, Riptide. Sorry. My brain's a little frazzled. I've been doing a festival for the past entire weekend, plus everything else going on. So without further ado, though, I want to get to our guests. They are doing a Kickstarter for a new comic. There it is right there on the screen. Hopefully I framed it properly. Hamletmania. When Joey kind of described the concept, I'm like, oh, we have to have them on because that sounds like a lot of fun. We have Greg McCrary, I did it again. Doggone it. I even looked at my notes. I'm like, oh, here, but I can't read my own writing. Greg McCrary is the artist. Aaron Walther is the writer. Thank you both, gentlemen, for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, this is great. I want to say again real quick because they brought me a comic that they'd worked on called Laser Dog, and I said that's automatically a book that I'm going to check out because it's laser and dog. Talk a little bit about, first of all, how you guys met, how the collaboration between you started.
Well, we actually first met at a comic book convention. It must have been like 2014-ish, I think, around. So we've known each other for a little while now, but it was I was at a table with my comics and Greg was at a table with his comics, and he had Laser Dog, and I was just staring at like this big poster of Laser Dog all day. We were like right across the aisle from each other, and I'm just looking at it. I'm like, that is a cool looking comic. I got to go talk to this guy. And we kind of just like chatted. We went to like a hangout afterwards, and just was talking comics, and we both liked a lot of the same stuff. And before you know it, now we're like working on a comic together.
The power of Laser Dog.
That's right.
So I'm glad. I was going to say you felt the same way about Laser Dog that I did. That's great.
Yeah.
It's hard to resist.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, just looking at it again, I'll put it up there for you guys. So with the comic book, some of the ones you brought in here are perks for doing the Kickstarter. So if you're listening right now, or if you're in the chats and you're listening, or you're listening online after the fact, go to the Kickstarter because you guys have still 3 or 4 days left, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah, we're in the final few days. We're running a really short campaign. Just 2 week long campaign. Because I don't want to have to stress myself out for like a whole month trying to run a campaign. Because you get most of your backs are going to be on the first day and the last day. So I'm like, why don't we just cut out the few middle weeks?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I know a lot of these things will go on for like 6 and 7 and 8 weeks sometimes.
For a really long time. Yeah. So we're not trying to like get like a whole lot of money. We just want to get enough just to cover an initial print run.
Right. Yeah. And how many prints, how many would that cover for you? Like print run, is it just enough to cover everyone who backs, or are you going to have some extra?
Oh, yeah. We're trying to do like a small print run of like 500 maybe 1,000, depending on like what we get. But yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And so Hamletmania, was this a story that one of you had first and they're kind of fleshed out? How did this one come about?
Yeah, it's common. That's a good way to play
it. So, it was an idea that I had. I pitched, when Greg and I were talking about making comics, I pitched 3 different ideas to him. And Hamletmania was the one that he liked the most, which was a really simple high concept, which is what if Shakespeare's Hamlet was told with alien wrestlers in outer space instead of like 17th century Danish court, you know?
Right.
And he was just, he liked wrestling, and he was, that's the one we got to do.
This is true. Well, like I also felt like it could exist within the Laser Dog universe, that like also drew me to it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did the art style, was it just his words and you kind of went with the art style based on what you read, or was there, because obviously each artist and writer have their own shorthand, their own collaboration. How did you find the look of Hamletmania?
I think like Aaron had some notes on like what the characters or what things would look like, but he's a good writer in which he just lets the artist just do the art, and just let them just create whatever they want. So I kind of just based it off of like 80s to 90s wrestling, but like what would that look like in outer space, essentially.
Okay.
And then involving, like watching wrestling as like I'm more like I was a middle schooler when I started watching wrestling, and watching it, they looked so uncomfortable. They looked like they were sweating. There was a lot of sweating, shine. They were very shiny, and it looked like they were like not exactly having a good time. So I wanted to have that uncomfortable feeling come across. So like I also leaned on like things that inspired me, like Spunko, which is like based off a lot of like gross weirdo art, rat fink type of art. So like I leaned into like those type of feelings of uncomfortableness, and then also got back to my roots of like when I started drawing, like any young boy, I love drawing big muscles, and so I was like, hey, I want to get back to that, but like draw a little more anatomically correct, but not completely anatomically correct. So these are aliens, so I'm like, really, I could play with the muscles as much as I want, and just be like, hey, it's an alien. That's what their muscles look like.
So not to put this out there, but a little like Ed McGuinness, because I feel like Ed McGuinness always draws like Superman is just huge, still anatomically correct, but it's like, man, I can't imagine anyone finding clothing that would fit.
Especially if he's Clark Kent. He's like, wow, Clark, do you work out?
I know. Clark, you've been hitting the gym, buddy. Yeah, that's what kind of, when you said that, that's kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, that was a good point.
And with this being Hamletmania, you mentioned Shakespeare. Is it Hamlet-centric, or is that just the easiest word to describe the Shakespearean universe that you're going to draw from?
Yeah, no, it is an actual adaptation of Hamlet.
Okay, all right.
We kind of talked about how we wanted to present that, because I think I was kind of drawing some inspiration from, in a weird way, Disney's Lion King, which is basically Hamlet, just like in a Disney movie, it's Disneyfied. And I'm like, well, what if we kind of do something like that, where we take Hamlet, but we comic book it up a little bit. So we're not trying to follow the original play verbatim. We're rearranging some stuff and kind of playing around with it, but it has all the same the beats and the characters. We kept the character names exactly the same, which I think also is kind of funny. Where the main character is called Hamlet, and Laertes and Ophelia, where they all just look like weird aliens.
Just those weird alien names from that Shakespeare himself came up with.
And that's kind of the funny thing about it, is like they do sound like, because as time progresses, like those would have been normal names then, and now they do sound kind of like sci-fi weird names, because they're not common everyday names that you would hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we talked a little bit earlier about whether or not this is a one-off or whether it's going to be a series and everything like that. You mentioned the webtoons. You've already got a series out there. So is each new installment a different Shakespearean play, or is it just still drawing on the same characters?
No, it's just the entire play of Hamlet that we're doing. We have Hamlet is a 5-act play, and we have essentially the first act completely finished. Like the art is mostly all done. We still got to do some touch-ups here and there. The first issue is just the first part of Act 1. It's probably going to be 5 or 6 issues just to comprise Act 1. So
gotcha. Okay.
We're doing the one thing that all people should never do when you're making an indie comic, which is make a long comic book series.
Right.
Like you want to just do like 1 issue, 2 issues, but like when you're tackling Hamlet, like you got to go big. You got to give it its due.
That's true.
Yeah, my gosh. So was there a background in Shakespearean, was it in English that turned you on to Shakespeare? Or was it?
This is the first time I actually knew about Hamlet.
Okay.
And as I was researching it and reading up on it, I actually did start to fall in love with it, because it's like a revenge story.
Yeah.
I can't help. I'm a sucker for like revenge stories. But I don't know. What about you, Aaron?
So I was never really somebody that studied Shakespeare beyond just the initial high school entry level. Like I'm pretty sure we read Romeo and Juliet, and I think I just absorbed the story of Hamlet just through cultural osmosis. Shakespeare is just something that's so omnipresent in the culture that you kind of like, a lot of people probably know it without realizing that they know it. You know, it gets referenced all the time. I mean, to be or not to be, like that's, you don't even have to know Shakespeare to know that that's a line from something.
Precise, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, yeah, when I got the idea, I think I knew that what Hamlet was, and I thought that's the one that would work really well for like a wrestling drama. And so I did like study it. I watched several versions, all the different movie versions. I read the original play and just kind of like studied to see how well it would translate. And the more I studied it, the more I realized it was actually even more of a perfect fit than I initially thought. Like because there's so many like monologues and soliloquies in Hamlet that just read so much like a wrestler cutting a promo, you know? And it's just like you can just like easily just cross that over, and all of a sudden it's like the same meaning and the same energy, but in a completely different context.
And that's what kind of like drew me to the story and why I picked this one specifically, because wrestling does have this theater element to it.
Absolutely.
You know, that's like very grandiose and flamboyant even. So like the story of Hamlet and wrestling coming together, I was like, wow, this is like, I feel so lucky.
It's like the perfect merger of high art and low art.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I guess since you saw so many versions, did you have a favorite version of Hamlet that stood out to you?
Well, my favorite, I mean, the best one probably is like Kenneth Branagh's version, just because that's the one that's like, it's 4 hours long, and it's like every line he's very true to the original source. But I have to admit, I'm kind of a sucker for Mel Gibson's version.
Okay.
Just because it's so weird seeing Mel Gibson play Hamlet. And I know, like, when you're an actor, like Shakespeare is like the golden role.
Right, the pinnacle, yeah.
So I get why you would want to do that, but it's like, it's not the greatest movie, but it is just kind of, there's a certain charm seeing Mel Gibson with like his long Braveheart hair doing Hamlet.
I think we both bonded on movies so bad they're good. It's actually like one of my favorite genres. Honestly.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies out there like that. We were just talking about movies the other day and kind of which one. And when you mentioned Revenge Story, which is just, I don't know how it came up, but I said probably two of the best revenge movies out there for me are Kill Bill, but there's also with Mel Gibson, Payback.
Oh yeah,
was a fantastic movie. Do you both have a favorite revenge movie?
Okay.
It's really tough. I might actually say Kill Bill. I went through a Kill Bill phase actually. Like that movie came out and I was the right age for it.
Yeah.
I had just like Pulp Fiction was such a big thing, and then I didn't get Jackie Brown at the time. I was like all in on Tarantino at that time, and then Kill Bill, and I really liked kung fu films, just watching old Jackie Chan stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that he was doing that, I got way into it. And I probably Kill Bill Volume 1 was the movie I've probably seen in theaters the most out of any other film.
Wow,
like,
really?
Okay.
Okay.
Into the double digits. Because you just sit there and just watch kung fu fights the whole time.
Right.
That's true.
That's true. That actually might be my pick.
Okay.
There's a lot of good revenge movies.
Yeah.
I know there is. Yeah. I know there's one that was like with Ethan Hawke. I can't remember the name of it. It came out in the 2000s era that I really enjoyed. Like old school kung fu. There's a lot of revenge stories with there that I enjoy. But it is a genre. I don't know. They're like definitely. I mean, like when you think about some horror movies, like I think of Silent Hill. Essentially is a revenge story about that little girl. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen it, but I know it is.
If you're listening right now, you can deal with the spoiling of this movie, which has been for a while.
But that little girl pretty much created like this, a what do you call that? Like a limbo where these people exist that tortured her as a little girl. Like,
yeah, I guess when you're expanding that aspect out, I guess The Grudge is technically a revenge movie, but it's not against the people who wronged them. So it's kind of like,
right. Take it a little too far.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's kind of sad. If you're listening right now, I know we've got people in the chats. Jessica says that she watched the Mel Gibson version in high school of Hamlet. Riptide says we all went through a Kill Bill phase, which I totally agree. I'm feeling that. Paul Cruz says, Aaron, I think we all watched it every week when it came out on DVD. I think he's referring to the Kill Bill.
Kill Bill, yeah.
Because I think I saw Volume 2 somehow before I ever saw Volume 1.
Oh, really?
Not realizing I didn't see the kid. I'm like, why is this woman killing all these people? There's like, oh, there's a first part of it. But and I will say, if you haven't seen it, you people listening, and also our friends in the studio here, if you haven't seen it, it's Quentin Tarantino adjacent. It's a room. It's a movie called Four Rooms.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with that one.
That's a New Year's movie because it happens at the hotel as they're getting up for New Year's. So that's one for my recommendations out there. We're going to take a real quick commercial break. We're going to come back in just a moment. We'll be chatting more about the Kickstarter. If you have a question for either of our guests, feel free to leave it in the chats. And I'm trying to keep an eye on those. I do apologize. I know I'm not always great at it, but we'll get those questions answered when we come back. You're listening to Geek to Me Radio on the Big 550 KTRS. Please stand by.
Here, zero gravity cliffhangers, cause you race them upside down, plummeting through the giant loop as you reach for new speeds and use your skill to master the death-defying spiral and blast up the wall to zero gravity. Then, turn out the lights and you're in night glow. Now, make your final move to take the lead and win. Zero gravity cliffhangers, now with night glow, new from Dyco. Go.
It's time to start the Strawberry Land Bake-Off in honor of my very new Sweet Sense kitchen. Okay, you can start cooking. Judge, I hope you like my apple pie. I'd better turn up the strawberries. Everything smells very delicious, like apples and strawberries. But the gingerbread wins. Who made the gingerbread? I did. Oh.
The Strawberry Shortcake Sweet Sense Kitchen comes with everything you see here. New from...
You are controlling the fastest train in the world, the most revolutionary machine on tracks, the incredible Super Turbo Train. So fast it travels in scale.
Hey guys, this is Corey Payton. I play Cyborg on Teen Titans Go. Booyah! And get ready for some Geek to Me Radio. I hear it's real good.
Welcome back to the show. I want to make sure we tell you about our official comic book sponsor, Bugs Comics and Games. If you were listening right now and you're thinking, boy, all these comic book movies are coming out and, there's Agatha all along. I have no idea who Agatha Harkness is. What are you doing? Larry at Bugs Comics might be the guy to go to and say, hey, I want to get into this. I want to start finding out the comic book origins behind all this stuff that's in the movies and the TV shows. And he can direct you. He's like, all right, well, here, you'll want to read this run of Fantastic Four to find out more about Agatha. And you'll want to read this issue, this run of West Coast Avengers. So you find out what happened to Scarlet Witch's children when John Byrne was writing the book. And he'll guide you in the right way if you just are a brand new, or maybe you got out of the hobby for a while. I took time off and came back to it, and you don't know where to start because there's all these new books. I don't recognize some of these titles. Let Larry be your personal comic concierge. He's located in O'Fallon, Missouri, on Bryan Road, right between Highway 364 and Highway 70. Pop in and say, hey, we heard about you on Geek to Me Radio, and we want Spider-Man comics, or, we want to find Batman. What's Batman doing right now? And he'll tell you where to go. Well, depending on what your level of interest is. Are you new to Batman? Well, you probably want to start with this, or, hey, you can just pick this up right off. And new comic book day every Wednesday is like Christmas for nerds. So make sure you go visit him on Wednesday to get your new comic books, whether it's from Dynamite or IDW or Titan or whatever it is you're reading. If you have not read the new Energon Universe books coming out from Skybound/Image, they are so good. If you remember G.I. Joe when you were my age and you were picking them up off the newsstand at 7-Eleven, Larry Hama is still writing the comic, and it's amazing. Plus, they've got all these little spin-offs. They've got a Duke miniseries, a Destro miniseries, Cobra Commander, and they're all fantastic. And they're getting ready to launch a new G.I. Joe #1. The Transformer stuff is also very solid. We just had Philip Kennedy Johnson on a couple weeks ago talking about The Incredible Hulk, which is a great book to read right now. And if any of this stuff is kind of hitting those little buttons for you, go talk to Larry at Bugs Comics and Games and say, I heard that Incredible Hulk's really good, or hey, I want to find out more about the Transformers comic, and he'll put you in the right direction. And if maybe you're listening and you're out there in the world, like our friends in California or Georgia or Louisiana or Tennessee, and your local comic book store closed. Sadly, a lot of places did during the pandemic, and even since then, let Larry and Bugs Comics be your new comic book store online. Facebook.com/Bugs Comics and Games, or go to Instagram.com/Bugs Comics and Games. He puts stuff up on Instagram. If you see something you like, just put a comment, claim. He'll send you a PayPal invoice. You pay. He ships it right to your door. Boom, you've got new comics again, just like that. I've been going, I was just telling Joey and everyone here in the studio, I've been going to Bugs since I was little, because I used to have a place on West Florissant, and I ride my bike up there before I got my license. So it's a lot of fun for me to still go visit Larry and Bugs Comics. Check them out online, Bugs Comics and Games on Facebook and on Instagram. Very proud to have them as our official comic book sponsor here on Geek to Me Radio. Chatting just a little bit longer here. We haven't got much time. This hour always flies by, but we're talking with Aaron and Greg about the comic book Hamletmania. It's on Kickstarter right now. And again, I'll put it up here for those of you who might have just tuned in. But you can back this on Kickstarter, and I really recommend you do. Brought to you by the same people who did Laser Dog. I'm obsessed with Laser Dog. I'm not sure if you know this about me now, but I'm just like,
Flattered.
I'm
Wow.
going to like sleep with it like this night. It's so good. But yeah, so we're talking with them about their thing. We were talking about revenge movies a little bit. Some of you got a little too excited about that in the chats, by the way. I worry about some of you. Andrew O'Hara says Old Boy is his favorite revenge movie.
Oh,
So that's
I know
a
it's
good one too.
blanking on someone.
Yeah. There's so many good revenge movies. But and Jessica says don't get Aaron started on the new G.I. Joe. So maybe that's maybe I hit a nerve there.
Yeah.
And our friends, the Nostalgic Pod Blast is listening. Stepfather 3 from 1993 and Nightmare in Badham County in 76 gets his votes for best revenge movies. With comic books out there now, I know we talked a little bit beforehand. I feel like we lose power. Hopefully you're still hearing us out there. We should have backup generators kick in for just that kind of thing. But it seemed like the air conditioning was running really hard a minute ago. But if you're still listening to us, I'm going to assume we're still on the air. So, but I'm getting less and less hopeful. We've lost power in the studio. I'm not sure if you can still see us. I'm not sure how much of this is battery powered. We're just going to plow ahead. But this has never happened. All right, the video is still going. So I'm not sure if you can hear me. It's running through the board. The board is still lit up. So I'm assuming there we can hear the power trying to come back online. This is so exciting. Drunken Fish lost power too. So all those people, at least they're not eating sushi. And then lose power and it's like, oh my gosh, I just grabbed something else that was on the counter and now I've swallowed part of the, I don't know what you could grab. But anyway, we are still broadcasting, so hopefully you can see us. Nostalgic Podblast says we're on YouTube. The lights must have gone out and we're still doing video because Dan Reba says, how spooky.
Yeah. How appropriate.
That's amazing. This has never happened before. So and Shannon says, all dark but can hear you. Okay, that's all right. Well, we're back up on YouTube, so we press on as we do in live theater. I'm sure just as Mel Gibson had to do when people are like, no, Mel, we said cut. But I've lost my train of thought completely because we were talking about revenge movies. Comic books you're reading now. I know you said you're more of an anime guy though. True. So are you still reading? Is there current stuff that's out or are you kind of going back and reading old school stuff a lot?
Well, I mainly watch anime and I rewatch Jujutsu Kaisen, which is you might enjoy. It's kind of like a horror anime, but with action involved with it as well. Watching One Piece since I was like pretty much a child because it's been going on forever. I always say like, hey, it doesn't really get good until like episode 1000. So you just have to wait till then.
So plow through. Boy, you thought The Simpsons was on for a while. My goodness, that's insane. And how about you? Did you have a favorite comic book stuff you're reading right now? Or?
I have the advantage of working in a comic book store.
That always helps.
I read a lot of comic books. I try to read almost everything that comes out. But honestly, the new Energon Universe books, probably some of the best comic books I've ever read in quite a long time. Like I'm a G.I. Joe kid. I read a lot of G.I. Joe comics. I had all the toys. And so I'm so excited that Larry Hama still gets to do his G.I. Joe, but then they also have a new one. I think that Image Skybound really did it right by really paying service to Larry Hama and kind of keeping his legacy going. But like the new stuff is so exciting. The Transformers series by Daniel Warren Johnson is just amazing. So really, honestly, some of the best comics on the stands right now.
Yeah, Larry Hama has said he's going to keep writing G.I. Joe as long as they will let him.
Yeah.
And I know those of you listening, I mentioned on my socials that I had an interview with Larry Hama. I accidentally erased it off my Sony recorder, but I think I can recover it. I'm working on that. So there's an interview with Larry Hama coming soon, hopefully. For those of you who are interested, we did talk extensively about the new G.I. Joe book that he's doing and the work he's done on that. And again, if you're enjoying comic books, again, I almost grabbed Laser Dog. It's just Hamletmania. This Kickstarter is, I think we said 3 days left to go, 4 days left?
This Wednesday.
Coming Wednesday.
70 hours.
Okay, 70 hours. So it's coming up close. So if you want to get them over the line there, go to Kickstarter.com. Just type in Hamletmania, all one word, just like it sounds. WrestleMania and Hamlet kind of smushed together, and you'll find it there. You can back them and get the comic made for them. If people want to find out more about the two of you individually, individually as a group, is there a website that they should go to other than Kickstarter? Social media handles? We'll start with Greg.
There's a Hamletmania social media. If you type in Hamletmania, it's the only one that exists. So
Okay.
you should come up like immediately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yourself personally, are you online much, social medias or anything like that?
I have like a company called OGTV. If you go on Instagram, OGTV_2020, that'll get you there.
Okay. And Aaron?
I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, Second Thought Comics. And then I also have a personal handle, I think AA Walther is what it is on Instagram. You can also find all of my comics that I've made over the last several years are on my website, secondthoughtcomics.com.
Perfect, and we'll link to those in the show notes. Thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight. Thank you to all of you in the chats. Hopefully I mentioned everybody. Alexander Blackheart, I just saw you pop up, hype for Hamletmania. So hopefully you'll be helping to back that, Alexander. Thank you to Maria Canals-Barrera. Make sure you check out 7 Cemeteries, starring Danny Trejo, in theaters and also on demand. You can check those out there. That's just a lot of fun, especially for Halloween. Thank you to both Greg McCrary and Aaron Walther for coming into the studio. I appreciate it. Thanks as always to Joey V for making the show look and sound as good as it does. There he is. He's even got his WrestleMania shirt on. Thank you all, and until next week, my friends.
From ABC News.
And we're at the news already. Thank you.
Forgot to mention.
President Trump's